We are live, brother.
Folks, what is up? And welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast. It is good to be back with you guys. I missed last week. Thank you to friend of the program, Dakota, for filling in for me. But folks, you are here with your regularly scheduled program, myself, Blake, and that is my brother, Austin. And we are here to talk all things volunteer sports. And Austin, we have been growing like crazy recently. Okay, we had a ton of new viewers and subscribers in our last live stream. So I just want to give everyone a quick kind of update on what Vol Talk is. This is a podcast about two Vols fans who just like to talk about the Vols. Okay, this is unscripted. Okay, we obviously decide what we're going to talk about, right, Austin? But other than that, we don't script this. This is a live show about everything volunteer sports. And so Austin and I love talking about it, love bantering about it, and we wanted to share that with you all. So please, as you join the live stream, or if you're joining after the live stream, jump in the chat, drop us a comment. We love to talk about this stuff with you guys. That's why we started the podcast. That's why Vol Talk exists. But again, Austin, to the viewers, welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast. We are live, and today, Austin, we are talking about all kinds of stuff. Jam-packed show. Big news. The Adidas deal is official. And then we're also going to be talking about some more QB battle updates and other scrimmage and fall camp news. It's jam-packed show, Austin.
Yeah, it is. It's a jam-packed show. The Adidas deal is the number one thing I think on people's minds right now. We talked about it a few months ago, Blake, when it was kind of starting to be reported, and we'll get into that. Some of the reports that came out about it initially that may or may not end up being true. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be a fun discussion, I think, man. And then QB talk, man. We're still in the midst of the QB battle, so we got that. And then we got several camp updates as well. Some unfortunate injury news to go over, but some positive things as well to go over, like Jermod McCoy being back. So we'll get into all that, and it's gonna be a fun show, dude.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, I'm happy to be back. I was sad to miss last week. Austin, if you remember, I was in the airport desperately trying to find my missing bag and then also still keep up with chat. So hopefully I can do a better job of keeping up with chat now that I am actually once again hosting the Vol Talk podcast. I'm back, baby. So here we are. Again, folks, please, throughout the live stream, jump in the chat here. We've already got Vols Are Your Daddy in the chat, new chatter. Welcome, Vols Are Your Daddy. He says, I pretty much consume everything orange on YouTube. Well, you're in the right place, my friend. This is the Vol Talk podcast. Anything and everything big orange. And then Ryan jumping in the chat. He says, hey, Austin and Blake. I'm at drill right now. We'll try to watch as much as I can. Appreciate it, Ryan. Appreciate your continuing support. Austin, speaking of support, man, again, we've been getting a ton of support and really, really appreciate all this support that everyone has been giving us. It's been humbling. It's been fun. It amps us up. We're excited to see all these people who love talking about this stuff like we do. And so if you haven't already, folks, please go ahead and like the live stream. Again, subscribe if you haven't already. We hit 350, which blows us away because we were still barely at like 100 just a couple months ago, Austin. And then now here we are at 350, approaching 400. So please subscribe. And then also, again, if you're coming after the fact, drop us a comment on the video or hey, follow us on Spotify. Our Spotify has been popping off, Austin. That's a great way to listen if you just want to listen as opposed to seeing the video. Say you're driving to work or whatever. That's a great option for people. So definitely do that, folks. I'm going to see if my camera will stop randomly moving. I need to figure out this this software here. But Austin, let's go ahead and jump into the big topic on everyone's mind. Again, like you said,
let's get into it.
The Adidas deal. So here are the facts as we know them right now. It was reported a couple months ago that, hey, it looks like Tennessee might be going back to Adidas. It appears that we now know that Tennessee was trying to negotiate, see if we could get more money out of Nike. Danny White was trying to play Adidas against Nike, but Nike didn't budge, and now we're coming in as the highest paid SEC school from their apparel deal. We are now above Texas at $20 million per year for a 10-year deal, $200 million total from Adidas to be our apparel partner once again. We used to be Adidas, we moved to Nike, and then now we're back. And Austin, the early reports are also suggesting that a lot of this is going to be able to be used for NIL deals and go directly to the players, which is what you and I talked about again several weeks ago when we talked about this news dropping. So this is big stuff.
Yeah, dude, no question. Initially reported by Richard G. West on Twitter, the infamous troll. I mean, literally predicted the exact number, the number of years, and the dollar amount to a T. So he got it right back in June or July or whatever it was. But yeah, it's a huge deal, man. I think I'm looking at this from like two different perspectives, right? And the first perspective is a lot of fans are bummed because of Nike versus Adidas, and simply that Nike looks better than Adidas and has overall made better apparel over the years, even with us, right? If you go back to the Adidas days, a lot of the coloring was wrong. They couldn't get our orange correct most of the time. The jerseys themselves looked kind of cheap. They just weren't as nice as when we moved over to Nike. And Nike's been phenomenal. I mean, Nike's been really good as far as, just looks are concerned. So a lot of fans are concerned about that. And I will say, from that perspective, there is a small part of me that's worried that recruits will care about that. Now, I don't think that's a big concern, but sadly, I'm sure there's at least one or two players that just wouldn't want to play in Adidas over Nike, which is ridiculous. That sounds ridiculous to me. Sounds ridiculous to Blake. Sounds ridiculous to most people watching this, but that probably exists. I don't think it's a big majority of players. I think it's a very small minority. I think most players these days care about money over the actual looks of their jerseys. So from that perspective, I get why people are concerned or upset because Adidas, again, the jersey just didn't look as good. However, perspective number two, Blake, which I think is significantly more important, is this is fantastic for the school. It's fantastic for all the athletic programs. I mean, we're going from 5 million a year from Nike to 20 million. I mean, that's 4x the amount of money per year from Adidas to Nike. And like you said, there's extra NIL incentives for players. Also, one good thing about the Adidas deal as well is we have creative control, meaning the school
Yes.
itself will be able to design the jerseys. So, and I don't know if that was the case beforehand. Someone would have to let me know. I try to look into it. It's actually hard information to find, but we do have creative control now. So we'll be able to decide, okay, what are the jerseys actually going to look like? And from that perspective, it's like, how do you really mess it up from here? I don't know. I mean, I think that made me feel a lot better when I saw that. But overall, dude, financially, it just made way too much sense. Nike
Yeah.
was just not interested in coming anywhere close to the deal that Adidas offered, which kind of makes you wonder why Adidas paid so much. Like, who were they bidding against? Doesn't matter. Benefited us. We'll take it. And then a big part of it too, Blake, is Adidas is making us like their number one priority in
Yep.
like apparel.
Yep.
Like it's literally the University of Tennessee is going to be the Adidas school. Which I mean, I think as Vols fans, we feel like we deserve that. Like that's the kind of brand
Yep.
we have, and Adidas treated us like that. And I think from that perspective, man, I think it definitely lessened my worries about what the jerseys are going to look like and the quality of the jerseys, because Adidas is making such a huge investment in this, dude. It's such a massive investment into the Tennessee brand. So to me, it's like, okay, they're going to really focus on this and make sure that they don't screw it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of what you're saying is you're hitting the nail on the head with, what's most important to us, right? The money. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't get over the money. You can't pass up $20 million a year. You
Exactly.
can't do it. because we were getting like, 5 million a year from Nike, $15 million a year difference. Four times, essentially, 4 times what we were making. You just can't not do it, right? So there's that. But yeah, I'm honestly, kind of, when it comes to the question of, are players going to, care about this versus Nike? Mike Matthews, I think, gave us a little bit of an insight into what players might feel about this when he said, hey, Mike Matthews came out when he was asked about this deal, and he said, hey, they are going to make us the priority.
Yep.
And I think maybe that can potentially overcome some of the worries about, hey, recruits prefer Nike over Adidas. I think that's obviously true, right? That is obviously true. And there are going to be some recruits who that's important to. However, in an age where these players are concerned about their own image and growing their social media following and growing their careers, in a world where you're going to go to a school who has a deal where they are the top deal for that brand, I think that's powerful compared to being pretty low on the totem pole for Nike.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and I think that's the important part of this. Like, there was no scenario where Tennessee could pass up this deal, Blake. That's just the reality. There's no scenario.
Exactly.
It just didn't make any sense from any perspective. And it was interesting to see Mike Matthews come out and just kind of like support the deal because, and honestly, I was impressed with Mike Matthews' answer, dude, because it's like he was seeing like the bigger picture, right? Like they're going to make us a priority as a school, which I was impressed to see. Like he didn't come at it from like a player's perspective, or even him individually or his perspective. He came at it as like, okay, they're going to prioritize us as a school and collectively, and that goes across all, programs. I mean, the baseball team, the basketball team, everything. So I was impressed with Mike Matthews' answer. And yeah, again, it's another thing that like made me less worried about because again, it's like, and I get it, some fans are bummed about the looks or whatever. But I'm not worried about recruiting. I think overall this is a net massive win in recruiting because you have more money. Simple as that, Blake. You have more money
Exactly.
to pay the
Yep.
recruits. And they will get more money from the brand deal. That's the thing. They're getting a higher percentage and a higher amount from the Adidas deal than they did the Nike deal. So from a recruiting perspective, dude, it's a massive net win. And I will say for the fans that are worried about the aesthetics, I think we have to at least give it a chance. Like we have to see the new design, see the new jerseys, and then let's make an opinion on it. But either way, dude, I think as Vols fans, there's at least a part of you that has to be happy about the deal because it's going to help us overall.
Yeah, the first point you made is especially important, right? At the end of the day, more money. And in this day and age, we talk about this, that, and the other, but ultimately it comes down to the money now. And so more money means we're going to be more competitive for these recruits regardless, because, hey, if you're telling me you'll pay me 2 million instead of 1 million, and the trade-off is I have to wear Adidas instead of Nike,
Dude, give me
okay.
a break. Give me a break. Like
Uh,
that's
okay.
and coming
It's
from
a
a kid
no-brainer.
who was we didn't have a lot of money growing up, Blake. Breaking news. We were kind of broke growing up. So I may have been rocking the Adidas more than the other kids, dude. The other kids have the Nikes, the new
Yep.
Nike gear. Hell, I was happy when I got some Adidas on. So I mean, yeah, dude. I mean, like to your point, dude, I think financially, if you show the recruits the financial benefit of it, they won't care about the Nike versus Adidas. And you're kind of already seeing that with new recruits like Tristan Keys. Got to bring him up in this discussion. There's a lot of
Yep.
speculation about his, recruitment right now. He signed with Adidas, and that I'm sure that was heavily financially, you know, the big reason was the finances behind it. And yeah, dude, it's also interesting. Apparently, he posted a picture on Instagram last night in some orange pants. Who knows? Of course, you got Voss
Ooh,
fans looking into that and maybe looking into it
speculation.
too much. But It is interesting, dude. If this helps us land keys, then yeah, that's already a net win from this deal.
1,000%. I mean, shoot, yeah, that would definitely immediately make this deal worth it to get the number one receiver in the country, or at least,
Exactly.
it was the composite number one. So, yeah, dude, honestly, overall, I was definitely in the camp of, hey, it's not from a looks perspective, it's not preferable, but there's just no more argument against it. In my opinion, there's just no more argument against it. It was very obviously, something that had to be done. When you look at the money difference, when you look at just every other aspect, right? Okay, maybe the gear is not going to be as good, but everything else is stacked against Nike in this case. So we gotta go with it. And I, for one, I'm positive about it, especially because, like you said, the creative control. I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
at this point, we're going to be able to, churn out some good jerseys that look really nice, even though they're with Adidas.
And if they get the color right, bro, then that's half the battle, over half the battle, man. That was my biggest problem with a lot of those Adidas jerseys. They can never get the orange
Yep.
right. So if they get the orange right, then hey, that's half the battle. And let's hope those all blacks look nice too. That was the main thing with
Yes.
Nike. Those all blacks were different, man. Those might have been the best uniforms in the entire country. So I'm hoping to see the all blacks for Adidas look really good. And I've been seeing some other schools post their Adidas jerseys, and I've been impressed, man. I think they've gotten better over the years. I really have. I think they've gotten better over the years. I think just using the 3 stripes opposed to writing out Adidas. They used to write out Adidas on the jerseys and it just looked real clunky, but just using the 3 stripes, in my opinion, is really nice. So I'm actually really optimistic about this. I mean, it's one of the highest like paying brand deals in the country. I looked it up. I couldn't find one that was more per year. Now there's a lot of schools that are coming up on new deals that need new deals, so they will probably, some schools might pass us as far as those deals are concerned as Blake tries to figure his new camera out. But
So sorry. So sorry.
but yeah, so I mean, you got to be happy with that. We're one of the highest paid schools in the country as far as a brand deal is concerned right now. And if Nike wasn't going to make us a priority, then shoot, F them. We don't need Nike. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't on the ball train, F them. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing we know about Vol Nation is you're either ride or die with us, baby. And
Exactly.
if you ain't riding with us, then you dying. So, yeah, Nike is dead to us. We have moved on to Adidas, and I think most of Vol Nation is in that camp.
And dude, Adidas is smart because they're not just. I guarantee it's right before football season, so we're coming at this from a football perspective mostly, Blake. But Adidas is really smart because they know Vol Nation is locked in year around. It's one of the few brands in the country that is locked in year round. Like we're huge
Yep.
basketball fans, huge baseball fans, women's basketball, softball. Like it's year round for us. The shout out to the Lady Vols soccer team. They just beat the number 1 team in the entire country. We're the everything school. So why not make the everything school your priority? And Adidas has done that.
Exactly. It definitely makes sense for Adidas. And I do appreciate, like you said, this point you've been making about, hey, we feel like we deserve this. And, I think it's pretty objective at this point, given our everything school status. So you're making a great point there. It's like, why, as Adidas, it's a win-win. Why wouldn't you want to make Tennessee, a school like Tennessee, your priority? And so, yeah, massive stuff. And the money too. We're coming at it from our football perspective, but again, we've talked about how as an everything school, the one disadvantage is you've got to figure out how your money fits, right? How you
Yep.
can pay all of your players. With more money coming in from Adidas, it makes it a little bit easier, opens up maybe some avenues for your players to have NIL deals directly with Adidas, so on and so forth. So a lot of good stuff. Catching up on the chat here, Dakota. Thanks for jumping in here, Dakota. He says that pretty sure Nike had to sign off on everything from what I found. So that is
Wow.
new with Adidas. Yeah, that's interesting. I do know that you know, I don't remember exactly, like you said, Austin. It's hard to find details, and I don't remember exactly what people have said about our previous deal with Adidas.
Mhm.
But the bottom line is, if we have complete creative control, that's great. That's to me, that's perfect. Especially because you look at Austin, look at the Vols social media team, dude. The Vols
Oh,
social media team
goated.
is the best, the
It,
best in the country, hands
That's
down.
not even biased. Go look at other people's jersey reveals. It's goofy, man. Look at some of the crap A&M's putting out. And I'm not even trying to take shots at A&M right now, but it's a lot of goofy stuff out there. You're 100% right to shout at the social media team. And dude, let's be honest. If they did have creative control under the last regime with Adidas sucked. Let's just be real, Blake. There was a lot of goofballs in office at that time
Yeah.
for Tennessee. So we got smarter administrators now. We got a way smarter AD. So, either way, I'm feeling a lot better about that. And it is interesting the point that Dakota made in the chat about apparently Nike had to sign off on everything. That is very interesting to me. That is new with Adidas. And again, it makes me feel good about it. I will say a lot of people on Twitter are wanting the old number font, the huge number font from like the '90s, which Blake might
Yeah.
appreciate that. A lot of the younger fans, I know Dakota in the chat, he don't want the big number font personally. So I wouldn't mind some throwback jerseys though. I think we'd have to appreciate some throwback jerseys, whether that's like the full time jersey or not. If we wear it like one time a year, I think that would be pretty nice, dude.
Yeah, I agree with that. And look, as much I am kind of I'm not a boomer, but I'm like a geriatric millennial, right? And I yearn for the old days for
Geriatric
sure.
millennial, that's wild.
So guilty as charged. However, I'm not in the camp of bringing back the block letters from the old Adidas jerseys.
Okay.
I do think those are dated at this point,
I'm
but
surprised to hear you
like
say that, to be honest.
I know you are surprised because you know who wore the block Adidas
Oh,
jerseys
Al Wilson, the
was
great Al Wilson,
the great Al Wilson, Austin, the great Casey Clausen,
the great Peyton
so
Manning.
the great Peyton Manning. So there
Maybe you're
are some greats
convincing
that
me
were
now. It's like if those things go hand in hand, then shoot, maybe we need to get some block numbers up in there.
maybe, but that supports your again. I like your idea of hey, at least maybe once a year, let's do some retro throwback jerseys. That would be pretty sweet, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, and when it comes to the jerseys and the uniforms across the board, I think fans pretty much universally agree, right? If you get the basic uniform right, if you get the color right, as you've said, Pantone 151C, baby,
Yes.
get it right, and then get the dark mode jerseys correct. Get the black jerseys right
Then we're
because
good.
we all love those. Then we're good. And then as long as you don't mess up, because like you mentioned the other sports, Austin, people sleep on our baseball uniforms. They have
Dude.
been slick.
Yes.
They
Yes.
have been slick.
They
So
have.
if they can get just like carry on that spirit with our basketball teams and our baseball team, then no one's gonna bat an eye. The logo doesn't so much matter, right, as the look. This is about the school. This is about
Yes.
Tennessee. Do you
Yes.
capture the spirit of Tennessee in your uniforms?
Um, David has a really nice chat in there, Blake. You might have to catch up on that, but I agree, man. The baseball jerseys. I'm glad you said that. I have to touch on that real quick because the baseball jerseys might be the best thing we have on campus, dude. I'm gonna have to load up
Yeah.
on some Nike baseball jerseys before they throw all those away. But I really feel like since Adidas made us the priority school, the 20 million, like they're investing heavily in us. I think they know they have a pulse on what Tennessee is now, which is the everything school. That's our brand now. We have leaned into that brand, meaning you're not only going to prioritize football, you're also going to put a lot of priority into baseball and basketball and whatnot.
Exactly. Definitely, it's massive. It needs to be done. We need to be prioritized as the everything school that we are, no doubt. Catching up on the chat here. Dakota says true throwbacks would be awesome.
Agreed.
Bust them out for homecoming every year. That's a great idea. For homecoming, that's spectacular idea there, Dakota. And David Rigsby says, "You guys are the greatest. Love your enthusiastic Vol coverage."
We
David, we
love the
appreciate you.
Vols, David.
Hey, we love the Vols. So if you love the Vols, you're in the right place, baby. I don't know if I've seen you in chat before there, David. So we appreciate you joining. We appreciate the support on the channel, and we appreciate everyone joining so far. We have lost a little bit of steam this live stream compared to the last live stream. That is probably a result of us not live streaming last week. So again, we apologize for that.
And the new
I
time.
apologize for having
The new time has
and
something to do as well.
the new time as well. So maybe we tuck our tails and run back to the previous time. We'll see, because we don't want to lose our steam here. But we appreciate your support, David. We appreciate everyone's support in the chat. Austin, any other thoughts on this Adidas deal, man? I mean, anything that we've missed on this?
No, just to kind of give a summary of my perspective on it. I'm overall, I'm thrilled with the deal, man. And yes, I am slightly bummed that we may have worse apparel, but we also have to wait and see on that. So we have to wait and see and give it a chance. And I think with the creative control, and financially, like, this is a win-win. And overall, I think we'll see. And dude, I'm telling you, if we get the Keys commitment already, like, Vol Nation has to be like on board with this Adidas
Fired
stuff,
up.
because that
Yep.
100% would be one of the main reasons we land Keys. So yeah, man, I'm overall happy with the deal, and I think it's good for Tennessee.
I think so too. I dropped a poll in the chat, folks. I think most people have already voted on it. It might have already ended, but right now we're at 100% that everyone is on board with the
Love
Adidas
it.
deal. And how could you not be, Austin? More dollar bills, and that's the world we live in now.
That's
when
the
it comes to
game we're
college
playing
football
these
stuff.
days, dude.
That's the game we're playing. So Danny White continues to impress with his ability to play the game that we are currently living in. So stamp of approval from Vol Talk Podcast on the Adidas deal. $20 million a year. Big stuff.
I will say I got one other thought on it, Blake, that I forgot to bring up. I've got one other thought. So let's keep in mind, so there's a salary cap right now. There's technically, they're implementing a salary cap with NIL, but remember, you can still have other NIL deals on the books if it goes through the clearinghouse. And here's the thing with the Adidas deal, that's definitely going to pass the clearinghouse, and that's going to result in more money for the players from Adidas compared to Nike. So that's it doesn't count towards our salary cap. Like, we can use the cash we get from the deal for our salary cap, but the money the players will get from this deal will go through that clearinghouse, and it won't count towards the cap. So overall, it will be more money for the players. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point for our newer viewers, or any of you who may not be aware. The NCAA lawsuit's kind of going through the courts right now, and as it stands right now, as we understand it, there's supposed to be a clearinghouse that approves true "quote unquote" NIL deals, and they have to pass a sniff test, right? They can't be like the Nico. Nico
sign
deals where you show up for
$2 and you get $2 million. Like, no,
maybe you sign a couple autographs, maybe you show up to a couple autograph signings.
Up to the autograph signings, so,
and then you're getting $2 million a year. So, to Austin's point, and it looks like there's going to be essentially what equates, to a salary cap from the school directly, the school and its associated collective. There would be a cap, but then there is that's strictly from the school / the school associated collective, whereas players can still do, again, true NIL deals. And so the hope is that from our understanding, this Adidas deal should allow us to do true NIL deals to the players via Adidas that would not count towards that cap. So yeah, fantastic point, Austin. Very, very good stuff. Let us know in the chat what you think about the Adidas deal, y'all. If you have any thoughts on Adidas versus Nike, let us know what your hopes are for the uniforms. Tell us your must-haves on the uniforms. Jump in the chat or in the comments if you're coming after the fact. Awesome. Let's go ahead and hop into a quick update. I want to give our folks a reminder, especially if you're new. Okay, we have got something that we're really excited about. which is the live season preview show.
Yes.
So we have officially, as of today, moved to our new time. It's a little bit out of necessity on our end. We are going to long term look at the best time for you guys for the live shows. We want as many people as possible to be able to join the live shows. And we understand, as it should be, a lot of folks, have some conflicts with church and all that good stuff. Us ourselves may have conflicts with church moving forward with this 11:30 a.m. Eastern time slot. So we're going to review that for you guys long term. But as it stands right now for this season, we're doing 11:30 a.m. Eastern on Sundays. And so our live season preview show is going to be next Sunday, Austin. This time next Sunday,
Yep.
August 24th. And friend of the program, Dakota, is going to join us again. And I always love the 3-man shows where we've got
Yes.
Dakota on
Same
with the
here.
two of us. It's always a great time. So, folks, please don't miss it. Mark your calendars. And again, if you can't make the live show, no problem. It goes straight onto the channel.
Yep.
You can watch it after the fact. So,
And
Austin, I'm looking forward to it.
I will say, just to let people know, for those who don't know, to find our live shows, you have to click the live tab. YouTube, for some reason, doesn't put the live shows in the main video feed, which I don't like about YouTube. You have to click the live tab to find the live shows after the fact. And of course, we appreciate anyone who does that. But the season preview, dude, it's going to be a huge show. I'm really excited for it. I'm just excited to break down the season with you guys and go position by position, just like we did last year, Blake. On our very first show ever, we're coming up on the year anniversary of the Vol Talk podcast, which is really, really crazy. But yeah, dude, it's gonna be a lot of fun because we're gonna get a sense of what we're gonna be in 2025 for this upcoming football season, and throw out some predictions as well. So it's gonna be a really, really fun show.
It is going to be, and it could be a fun season, Austin, because a lot of people are sleeping on us.
True.
And I'm there's a little bit of resentment starting to grow in me, man. Seeing all this, under people underrating us and sleeping on Tennessee this year. So I'm looking forward to that live season preview, folks. Next Sunday, August 24th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, or catch it after the fact under the live tab, like Austin said, on our YouTube channel. It'll also be uploaded to Spotify as always. So follow us on Spotify as well. Austin, let's jump right into our next topic, which I think it's always hot on everyone's minds, right? It's going to be hot. It's going to be hot until week 1, and it's probably going to be hot, honestly, until Georgia, or maybe even after Georgia, depending on how the Georgia game goes. Is this question of who is going to be QB1?
Yep.
And Austin, there was a report that came out from Pete Nakos, I believe his name is Nakos. And if I'm not mistaken, he's the one that broke the Nico news.
He is.
And so he seems to be a pretty reliable guy, and he's reporting that it's not decided yet, but it appears that the locker room and the coaches are trending towards Aguilar being the starting quarterback come week 1.
Yes, he reported this on August 15th, I believe. Actually, the initial report was on August 13th, but he retweeted it and reported it again on the 15th. So this was just a couple of days ago, Blake, that he reported this, and that was right before our last fall scrimmage of fall camp. So it is interesting. He's a national report, like he does all college football. He works for On3, like their number 1 reporter for On3. On3 is like becoming like the biggest brand in college football. They just signed Josh Pate to a media deal. So yeah, very reliable source. Like you said, he was one of the first ones, if not the first one, to break the Nico news, which is interesting because, again, he's not even Tennessee based. So he definitely has a hand on the program. And yeah, it is interesting because, like you said, the report specifically talks about, the coaching staff in the locker room leaning towards Aguilar, which, when we first talked about this, dude, I talked about how if Aguilar comes in and shows the leadership qualities that he showed in past trips at App State, then, he could easily win over the locker room. And that's been the report since he's been on campus, Blake, is that he continues to win over the locker room. And it's tough to know who's actually performing better in camp. We only get a few reports here and there from reporters, and we didn't even get. It was a closed scrimmage, so like I don't know how many reporters were actually allowed in the scrimmage to see who got like more first team reps or whatnot. But it definitely seems at this point that it's Aguilar, not official. I don't know when they're going to announce it. I watched Heupel's press conference. He doesn't give us much. He's very coach speak, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like he feels like it's a competitive advantage to like drag it out and wait to announce it. I I don't view that as a competitive advantage personally. Like Syracuse is likely watching film on both guys, what they have, so it's not really an advantage to me. And I think we all just kind of want to know as fans at this point, dude. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's looking like it's going to be Aguilar against Syracuse. I think the only question I have at this point, Blake, which is kind of what you were hinting at, like, oh, it's going to kind of drag out to the Georgia game. How much of a leash does Aguilar have, right? Like, how much
Right.
of a leash is there?
Exactly.
Because technically in 2021, it took a Joe Milton injury against Pitt to insert
Yep.
Hendon Hooker. But then Hendon, won the job from there. So, like, if Aguilar plays bad against Syracuse, like, are we just going to ride it out with Aguilar until it gets real, real bad? Or is it like one of those things where if, Aguilar comes out against Syracuse, throws a pick six, and we're down 14-0 against Syracuse, which, by the way, that's not my prediction, but I'm just saying a what if this happens? Will Aguilar stay in, or will they go to Merklinger quickly? I'm very curious to see how that plays out. But of course, that sees that takes watching the actual football game, which I think we're most excited about. So we'll see, man. I'm curious though what the leash is for Aguilar if he is named the starter.
Yeah, we are. I think most Vol fans are definitely most excited about kickoff, baby. As you can see
Yes,
on my sign back here,
yes.
13 days until kickoff, folks,
I
until it is
cannot wait.
officially football time in Tennessee. And we're going to show Syracuse who the real orange is. So, yeah, folks are excited. But again, yeah, I mean, we're wondering who the QB is. Again, this report's saying it's looking like it's going to be Aguilar, but absolutely, that's the big question that still lingers is how much of a lead does he have? You and Dakota talked about this on the last live show 2 weeks ago. Is this idea of hey, is it a kind of a dual QB system for a while? Is it is it so close that like you're talking about, you're alluding to, okay, if Aguilar doesn't play well in games and has a Joe Milton style kind of deal where he looks great in practice, but then doesn't play as good in games compared to Merklinger, then do they make the switch? How quick do they make the switch? And so, again, I personally think that this is going to carry on past week one. I think all things seem to indicate that, like you're saying, Aguilar is going to be named that starter week one, but I don't think it's a done deal from there. Because we've been high on Merklinger. Dakota mentioned it when he was on the show 2 weeks ago as well. He has the time in the system. Lance Hurd said that
Yeah.
Merklinger has emerged as a great leader as well. So I think it's still going to be a question going into the season.
And I think if it's a positively close, I think that's good. And what I mean by that, if like they've both shown enough to be QB1, then that means we have two starting caliber QBs on the roster. So that's overall a good thing. One interesting thing I did take away from Heupel's press conference when asked about the quarterbacks, because that was, of course, one of the main topics. Was that someone asked him about basically coaching the turnovers, or at least the system takes the turnovers away from Aguilar. Kind of that idea that we've been saying, like he's a very I wouldn't. I guess you could use the word volatile in the fact that there's a lot of big plays that he makes, but there's a lot of turnover where he plays as well in there. And it seemed like from Heupel's answer that his philosophy about football is that yes, a system can coach turnovers out of a quarterback. He didn't say that
Right.
outright, but from his answer, he was basically like, yeah, I believe, turnovers happen when the guys just aren't seeing it well. It's not really, he doesn't believe it's like an arm strength thing or anything like that, which is interesting to me because I think that's coming from Heupel's perspective as a player, Blake, because he wasn't a big traits guy, right? He played within a system, and he was extremely successful doing that. But he didn't have the biggest arm, he didn't have the greatest athleticism. So I think he truly believes he can coach turnovers out of quarterbacks, which is bodes well for us. That means I think that would mean that we're going to see more big plays out of the offense, but we're still going to see, which has been the trend with Heupel, not a lot of turnovers from the quarterback position, and that's now at Tennessee. That includes three different quarterbacks now, right? That includes Hendon Hooker, Joe Milton, and Nico. And if you look at Joe in the NFL, hey, we're supportive of
Yep.
former Vols, no question about it. But but Joe has struggled in the preseason and has thrown a lot of turnovers and turnover worthy plays in the preseason. So kind of tells me that there is something to Heupel's system that coaches these turnovers out of quarterbacks. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. And I think that was the only thing Heupel gave us in that post scrimmage presser about the quarterbacks.
Yeah, and that's going to, I think, ultimately determine what happens is how many turnovers Aguilar has, right?
Yep.
I mean, I think that's been the main thing. We don't doubt his leadership at this point. We don't doubt his gunslinger mentality. It's just a matter of turnovers, and can he thrive in Heupel's system? But Austin, I think that's part of the reason why people are sleeping on us pretty hard. People are sleeping on the Vols pretty hard this preseason, and yes, there are question marks, there are unknowns. One of those being Aguilar. One of those being, is Aguilar going to be able to thrive in this system, or is the system going to be able to coach the turnovers out of Aguilar? And if it doesn't, then yeah, we are probably going to struggle a little bit and not have as good of a season as we want to. But man, I can't help but to believe if these receivers put it together and Aguilar or Merklinger can thrive, all of a sudden we are way underrated. And
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at the roster, we are way underrated if they can thrive.
And it's interesting because I think we're usually pretty level-headed Vols fans, dude. That's the kind of analysis we try to bring. But I honest to God, dude, I'm starting to feel what you're feeling, because it's interesting to me, Blake, because if you look at our season line, the win total line before Nico left, it was 9.5. That was actually above Alabama. It was 9.5 before Nico left in the spring. And now it moved down to 8.5, which I think 8.5 is probably higher than a lot of fans would have expected. Just from the sense I get from the fan base. I mean, 8.5, that means we're either winning 9 games or 8 games according to Vegas, which isn't a huge fall off. But I keep going back to, I just don't see how the offense isn't better this year, Blake, because there was so
Right.
many points last year that it was so awful. I mean, it was terrible. We keep going back to the fact that we were winning games because of the run game and the defense, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, how does the offense not get better this year? I believe
Yep.
Aguilar will raise the ceiling of the offense. So then you're looking at it like, well, what's holding this team back compared to last year? What's really holding it back? And you could say, oh, well, we're losing Dylan Sampson. And that's a big part of it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Dylan Sampson's
maybe the
huge.
run game.
Maybe it's the
Right.
run game. And then you look at the defense and you losing James Pierce. But man, the more I look at the defensive like depth and the projected starters, like, it doesn't look like there's a huge fall off there. And, I talked to Dakota off stream about, well, how do you replace James Pierce production? Well, you can do that in the aggregate with 3 or 4 players. And I think that's the way we're headed. And I think we have the guys to do that on the roster. So it's like, okay, I don't think there's a huge fall off on defense. It's possible because defense is volatile year to year. And I think there's like no scenario where the offense isn't more productive, especially in the pass game, which, I think is really, really important. So then you're looking at, you look at all that evidence and you're like, how is this team worse than last year's team? I don't know.
Yeah,
I genuinely don't know, like, from that perspective.
exactly. And you know, a lot of people talk about, hey, they expected Nico to make a huge jump forward this year, and maybe that's true. Maybe he comes out at UCLA and he is a better player. I still don't think they're going to win very many games because it's UCLA and they don't have any other talent. But you know, maybe he would have made a big leap forward this year in terms of his play. But man, people always also bring up, it's like people forget to, a lot of Vols fans bring up, because everyone else seems to forget, that Nico had 9 touchdowns in SEC play. That means a majority of his
Production was out
touchdowns,
of
his
SEC play.
production came out of conference play against the likes of Chattanooga, you know, and the like. And it's like, you know, to your point, I mean, how can you not look at that and say, hey, man, I mean, we might just end up with more production this year.
Offensively, especially, that's why I keep going back to. It's like, what position group on offense is worse this year? I mean, you can say running back, but Heupel, one other thing from the presser, I literally that just happened after the scrimmage, is he said that he believes this is the deepest running back room that they had. Now, it's not a star in Dylan Sampson, but again, it's kind of like the James Pierce thing. Replace him in the aggregate. You have 3 guys that can replace his production. Then it's the same amount of production. It's with 3 guys, but it doesn't matter as long as it's the same amount of production. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think to answer our own question that we're kind of getting at here, is the schedule, right? Like, I just think this cycle of our schedule is just so much tougher because we get Florida and Bama on the road, and we still have to play Georgia, and we haven't been able to beat Georgia recently. So I think that's probably the reason. But dude, I mean, just to kind of wrap up my thoughts on specifically the QB stuff, I think right now how I'm feeling, and we'll get into this way more in depth in next week's show, on August 24th, the season preview. But I think Aguilar is going to raise the ceiling of this offense. I do. Compared to last year. I'm not saying we're getting back to 2022. A lot of people are saying that. It's like, we don't have the evidence to say that yet. We just don't. But comparing it to last year, which is the worst Heupel offense that we've seen since he's got here, which includes the 2021 season, by the way, which was his first season on campus, Blake, with, you know, a completely depleted roster. I just don't see how the offense doesn't get better from every standpoint: offensive line, wide receiver, and most importantly, quarterback play.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, point that we're making here is, you know, this report coming out saying we're trending towards Aguilar as QB1 week 1. You know, we're gonna see, but at the end of the day, you know, we're still optimistic about the offense, regardless of who ends up starting, regardless of who continues to start throughout the season. Maybe we start with Aguilar, move to Merklinger. That's probably a worst case scenario where Aguilar is not thriving and it is throwing turnovers. But the bottom line is, man, like you're talking about, these position groups seem to be trending towards being better this year. So super excited about that. Good discussion here on this QB1 update, Austin. We've been talking a lot about this presser after the scrimmage. That's a nice segue to our next topic. Do you have any other thoughts on the QB battle?
No, like you said, the next topic, we're just basically going to talk about some like one-off, you know, storylines from the team heading into 2025. I think we probably should start with Boo Carter. The report out of the scrimmage, that was one of the main things they asked him about in the presser. The report was he was participated in the scrimmage and he was, I guess, more active. Like he's getting closer and closer to being fully back, you know, fully back integrated with the team. Because, you know, the plan should definitely be to start Boo Carter if he's here, because, you know, he started 5 games as a true freshman, showed a ton of potential, and he's a huge piece for the team. So that's good news. And I know there's been some talk about social media and stuff. I don't really want to go into that because I find it kind of weird that people are looking at other people, like his mom's social media and stuff like that. Let's just focus on 2025. Let's get through 2025. He's going to be here this year, and let's hope he plays well. I mean, and if he plays well, that means it helps him individually, and it helps his family individually, and it helps us as a team. So let's just hope Boo plays well, and it looks like he's closer and closer to being back completely on defense and likely going to be playing that star slot corner position that he played last season.
Definitely good news. Glad to hear that, because definitely he is going to be a huge piece of the defense heading into this year. But Austin, there's also some other, good news from the defense. Speaking of the defense and defensive backs in particular, a lot of good news coming in about Colton Hood from the scrimmage and from fall camp. Talk us through that.
Well, I mean, secondary in general, we're even going to get into McCoy in a second. But yeah, I mean, Colton Hood has looked fantastic. I mean, Dakota and I, last live stream, Blake, we showed that clip and we were trying to figure out who the blurred quarterback is. By the way, apparently that was Miles Kitselman. That's what the report is. It was Miles Kitselman. I don't know. It was weird. It was Kitselman. I mean, they unblurred it and showed Kitselman, but it makes you wonder why you blur it in the first place. But anyways, I digress. Colton Hood.
Maybe it was a trick play. Maybe that's why they were trying to.
Maybe it was a trick play. Maybe, and Kitselman's throwing it up to the defense. But listen, Colton Hood has apparently been phenomenal. I mean, he's been one of the camp standouts. And I just really like some of the quotes he's had that have come out. He sounded like he wants to be here and he wants to compete at the highest levels of football, which is, that's what you love to see, man. Especially coming from Colorado and the culture that they have, that seems to be less about that sometimes from an outside perspective. It sounds like he wants to compete at the highest levels. He wanted to be here. It wasn't about money, which, I mean, I just love to hear all that. And he's playing well. Listen, here's the thing about Tennessee fans. Yes, we are super loyal, especially those who are loyal to us. But we also really like when you play well. That helps everybody. That helps everybody feel good when you're playing well. And Colton Hood has been playing really, really well. So in camp, and it just kind of adds to this secondary, which, man, I mean, it's so funny. We're almost on the year anniversary of the hot and ready, which a lot of people won't even get that reference, Blake, but the hot and ready secondary that we were questioning last season, and they completely exceeded our expectations. Maybe, probably the second best position group on the team last year, the secondary. Dude, and again, secondary play is volatile. However, this secondary with Colton Hood, Jermon McCoy, who may or may not be practicing again, which I absolutely love, Boo Carter, Ricky Gibson, like, this is a fantastic group. This could be easily the best position group on this team heading into 2025.
And hopefully we don't eat our words, because we did have that moment last year that we'll talk about in a second. And now we're talking about it being a potentially great position group going into this year. So hopefully they don't let us down. But again, as Austin alluded to, we've got a lot of new viewers. So folks, if you are new, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary of Vol Talk. And when we first kicked off Vol Talk, first of all, I guess I probably don't recommend going back and watching the old videos.
I would not.
Because the production quality is significantly worse than it is now. However, we did, by the way, that cannot be understated. But the spirit of Vol Talk was still there since its inception, which is fun, laid-back banter about the Vols. Me and Austin, two brothers, just talking about the Vols, unscripted. And we had Austin in particular had an unscripted moment last year talking about our secondary, saying, "Hey, they're going to be kind of like a hot and ready pizza, or they could be like a hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars."
Oh, I said that was best case scenario. I'll just out myself. I said it was best case scenario. It's a hot and ready pizza, which is basically just solid. It gets the job done. It gets you fed. It's not good, but it gets the job done. But it's
hot and it's ready. Exactly. Yeah. So that we thought that was best case scenario heading into the last season. And yeah, exactly. They way exceeded that. They were, dare I say, they were certainly a DiGiorno or a Papa John's pizza. Maybe
how about Stefano's? How about old school Stefano's on the strip?
Okay.
On the strip in Knoxville, which sadly they took out. But
man, real Vols fans know, if you ever been to games, most of you probably live in and around Knoxville. I'm sure most of you have been to games. If you remember, let us know in the chat. Okay, hop in the chat or leave us a comment. Let us know if you remember the old school Stefanos there on the strip.
The
RIP to
best.
that Stefano. Freaking sellouts, man. Sold it
I
to
know,
freaking
man.
people from Chicago to develop housing. Whatever. Anyway, yes, they were definitely much better than that. And so, yeah, all the reports so far from fall camp and the scrimmage seem to be pointing towards they're going to continue what they did last year, which was surprise and play really well. So that's great news. Awesome. What other news do we have coming out of the scrimmage and fall camp in general?
So Jermon McCoy, continuing with the secondary talk, he is back practicing in individual drills, and looks good doing it. By the way, he looks really good doing it. He looks in great shape. Looks like rehab's been going well. He didn't play in the scrimmage. Hype will confirm that he did not play in the scrimmage, but and again, I'm not gonna say he's trending towards playing week 1 because that's 2 weeks away. People, Blake has it up on the board behind him, 13 days away. It's literally right here. It's now. So I'm not sure if he's gonna play week 1 or not, but I am very confident he'll be ready for week 3 against Georgia when they come to town, which is obviously the most important. In my mind, at least, I'm thinking like, hey, put him on ice until week 3. I'd be totally fine with that.
Yeah, for sure. We need him come week 3 because we're getting Georgia early this year. Unlike, honestly, I think Austin for the past couple decades, we've
Yep.
always had them later in the season in November. So it's going to be a huge test and really kind of a litmus test for the season is Georgia's trip to Neyland, and they are going to be tough, man. But Heupel has been really good in Neyland.
Yep.
I believe it's what 22-1, 23-1, something like that.
Since 2022. Yep.
Since 2022. So
Only loss being
great.
Georgia, so that's
Right, exactly. That's the
that's a
unfortunate
tough
part.
thing.
But still, statistically, we've been great at home, and so it's definitely going to help if Jermod McCoy can be available for that Georgia game. Folks, hop in the chat here. Let us know. Chat hasn't been moving quite as much as it did last stream, so please let us know. We love chatting with you guys. Let us know your thoughts. Even if you're not a Vol fan, we had a lot of non-Vols fans joining last time. So please jump in the chat and let us know what your thoughts are on any of this fall camp news, any of the Adidas stuff from previously, or the Aguilar talk as well. Austin, what other headlines do we have coming out of scrimmage? So obviously, Jermon McCoy is huge. The QB talk is huge, but what other kind of headlines do we have coming out?
So the really only bad news to report, unfortunately, David Hobbs, who was, I mean, he's projected to be our number 1 defensive tackle and has been developing here for a few years now, is unfortunately going to be out for an extended period of time with, I believe, a foot injury is what I read. So David Hobbs will be out for a while, which takes away some depth on the defensive line. Actually takes away a starter, but we rotate a lot on the defensive line, which is extremely unfortunate. I think he was kind of due for a breakout year, and it's not like he's not going to play the entire year. He's not ruled out for the entire season, but he will be out for a while. It seems like at least a couple weeks. I think 4 weeks maybe is what I read. So yeah, David Hobbs will be out for a minute. But some good news. Peyton Lewis has been getting a lot of hype recently. Again, kind of going back to the deep running back room, Blake. Peyton Lewis, the running back coach said he is completely transformed his body, and he compared him to a Greek god when he takes his shirt off. He looks like a Greek god, which is interesting.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, that's interesting way to word that. But hey, dude, listen, we'll take it. So I'm very excited about the running back room with Star Thomas coming over from Duke, Peyton Lewis, and of course hometown, home city kid Deshaun Bishop. So yeah, we're gonna have a real deep running back room in 2025. So,
and you talked about when we were talking about the QB battle and what position group could potentially be worse this year on offense because they all seem to be potentially better this year. And the only question mark is running back. But honestly, I mean, shoot, at one point, Dylan Sampson was also an unknown, right? And then he became a star. And so you never know when we're going to have another star. And maybe it's Star Thomas, or maybe it's Deshaun Bishop, or maybe it's this apparently Greek god Peyton Lewis. But the point is yeah, I mean, we've got a decent stable, and it
Yeah.
could end up being a good position group coming into the year. So, what
Um,
any other final thoughts, Austin, on Vol Camp and the
So I'll,
scrimmage? What we
I'll
got?
circle back around to Dave and Hobbs. It's going to be, they said it's multiple weeks, not 4 weeks, multiple weeks. He's definitely going to be out week one, which is unfortunate. So we'll see who kind of replaces him because he is projected started on our lads, which, was kind of expected. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who steps up on that defensive line. I am optimistic about the D line overall, though, but we'll get into that in depth next week, Blake, on August 24th. Last guy I have to mention, an interesting storyline, is Caleb Beasley has seemed to have moved to safety. He came in last year as a corner, highly rated cornerback, I believe a 4-star cornerback last year. And I checked our lads today, and I tried to confirm this by Vols reporters. I couldn't find anything. If somebody has a report and wants to shout it out, you can let me know. But he's projected to be our starting safety right now as a true sophomore. Which is interesting because again he committed here as a cornerback, and I really don't know what our lads knows because this was not the depth chart the last time I looked at it, and I will say I'll also note because this is related to fall camp, we are very light at safety and linebacker. Kind of makes sense. We've been covering recruiting. We've been getting a lot of commits at safety and linebacker, Blake. Kind of makes sense when you look at the roster. It is a light position groups.
Yeah, I do remember when we landed Caleb Beasley's commitment. He was pretty highly rated, so excited to see what he might be able to do back at safety. Interesting. I guess maybe
And
hopefully it's not just
starting as
purely
a sophomore, which is interesting as well.
right. I mean, again, hopefully it's not purely out of necessity. Hopefully he's just balling out.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see here in less than a couple weeks, Austin.
Yeah.
Less than 14 days. All
Exactly.
questions will be revealed. So, good
Heck yeah.
stuff
Got
coming
Lynn in
in.
the chat here, Blake.
Oh man, Lynn jumping in. Lynn, we're glad you can make it. Lynn, as always, he's saying roll Vols. We
Love it.
appreciate you, Lynn. Good to see you. Glad you're here with us. Lynn has been a day one supporter of the Vol Talk podcast. So we appreciate Lynn, and we appreciate all of y'all's support. And for everyone who has jumped in the live stream so far. But Austin, I think that wraps up pretty much our list of topics for this show. Do you have, before we head into our outro, do you have any final thoughts on anything?
No, man. I'm with you. I'm ready to get into the season, ready to do the season preview. Listen, the season preview, I know we're at a new time right now. We'll probably still be streaming at the old time with the season preview. It's going to be a doozy, people. It's going to be a long one.
It is.
When we have 3-man shows, it's usually, we're long-winded on those 3 people shows. So please tune in next week at 11:30. And again, if you can't get here at 11:30, show up at 2 or 3. We probably still streaming, to be honest with you. Full breakdown full breakdown of every position group and predictions and everything. It's gonna be a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, it typically, with 3-man shows, it typically ends up being 3 times the length, believe it or not. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. Definitely jump in. And again, folks, if you can't make it at the live stream, it's out of necessity right now, but you can always join after the fact. So quick update on the chat here. David says mental struggle tightly in second scrimmage. Yeah, I mean, so I guess I'm sorry, Merkel.
Yeah, Merklinger.
So I think he's saying Merklinger struggled in the second scrimmage. So that's interesting. I haven't seen that news, but that lines up with what we were talking about earlier, Austin, the report that we're trending towards Aguilar's QB1.
Sure. That's it. That is interesting. I didn't see that either. I've heard that McIntyre is impressing, but I don't think Heupel kind of let it slip because I forgot to mention this earlier, but now that we're back on the topic, I'll mention it, that they asked him about the quarterbacks and he's like, oh yeah, they both looked good. But then he quickly was like, oh yeah, but George looked good too. So it kind of revealed that George really isn't in the competition. Cause they didn't say Merklinger and Aguilar. They just said, hey, how'd the QBs look? And he's like, oh, they both look good. Oh yeah, but George looked good too. So he's not really part of the competition. It doesn't seem like, at least. He will play down the line, though. I am excited about him down the line. But yeah, that is interesting that Merklinger struggled. Man, it was hard. I was scouring the interwebs, Blake, for reports out of the scrimmage. I don't think there was I didn't see a ton as far as like specifics behind what happened in the scrimmage. But I mean, again, kind of like we were saying, dude, it seems like Aguilar is going to be the guy. So hey, we're the biggest Joey Aguilar fans on the planet now, baby.
Ride or die, baby. Ride or
Ride
die.
or die.
Folks, buckle in and buckle up with Vol Talk Nation, because we will be keeping a pulse on that as we head into the season and kick off 13 days away. Austin, again, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank everyone so much for your support. David hopping in the chat here for the first time. Really appreciate you. Lynn, Dakota, all of our regulars. We appreciate y'all. Again, please subscribe to the channel. Like the video, like this live stream, or if you're watching after the fact, go ahead and like the video. We really appreciate the support. We're hoping to hit 400 subscribers by the time the season starts, Austin. So that would be good stuff if we can hit 400. We started this thing just over a year, or just under a year ago, and man, and there's Austin's wife jumping in the chat,
Yes.
Callie.
Shout out to my wife.
Shout out to Callie. Shout out to, hey, I think my wife was watching earlier too. So, babe, if you want to drop us a little engagement
Rachel,
in the chat.
Drop in the chat.
Drop in the chat. But again, folks, we just under a year ago, we started Vol Talk. And honestly, Austin, I don't think we expected to be at several hundred subscribers with thousands of views on several of our videos. It's been awesome.
Wild,
and the main thing is we love talking about the Vols and talking about it with each other, and now talking about it with you all. So the three, I'll call it the three-legged stool of Vol Talk Nation: Blake, Austin, and Vol Talk Nation, friends of the programs, listeners of the program. It's fun stuff. So, Austin, this has been a fun show. We appreciate everyone joining. Again, one last plug: we are going to be live this time next week, August 24th, 11:30 Eastern. It's our live preview show, season preview show. Callie in here. Austin has to take me to lunch. Chomp chop. All right, so Callie's kicking Austin off the stream here because they got to get to lunch.
Apparently,
but
we
again,
gotta
folks,
go.
Apparently, you got to go. But season preview next week. Be there, be square. It's going to be a fun show. Until then, folks, as always, go freaking Vols, baby.
GBO.